My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 32 years old, and 6 years ago, my mother looked me dead in the eye and said something I still hear in my nightmares. Nobody leaves this family unless they're carried out. She said it while standing in my apartment kitchen, holding my eviction notice in one hand and my little brother's overdue electric bill in the other. Like it was normal. Like my life belonged to everybody except me. Before I keep going, if you know what it feels like to be the family fixer, the one everybody dumps their disasters on, hit like and subscribe right now, and tell me where you're watching from, because I read every single comment. Seriously. If you're already on Team Claire, buckle up, because this story goes absolutely off the rails. See, my family looked respectable from the outside, too. We lived in Lexington, Kentucky, quiet suburb, church every Sunday, matching Christmas pajamas. My stepfather, Rick, owned a roofing company. My mother, Denise, taught piano lessons from home. My younger brother, Ethan, was the golden boy, football star, funny, charming. Everybody loved him. Me? I was the responsible one. Which sounds nice until you realize responsible in toxic families just means easiest to exploit. By 24, I was basically carrying 4 adults on my back. I worked mornings at a medical office, nights at a restaurant, weekends doing bookkeeping for Rick's roofing company because family helps family. No paycheck, by the way. Rick called it earning your place. Meanwhile, Ethan crashed cars, quit jobs, borrowed money, and somehow still got treated like a misunderstood prince. The first time he got arrested for drunk driving, my mother cried harder than he did. "You know how sensitive your brother is," she whispered afterward while I sat at the kitchen table paying his court fees online with my credit card. I wish I was kidding. Every month it was something. Ethan's rent, Ethan's phone, Ethan's truck payment, Ethan's bail, Ethan's mental health. And every time I tried saying no, my mother acted like I'd stabbed a puppy in church. Family takes care of each other, Claire. Funny how that rule only flowed one direction. By 2018, I was exhausted. I'd wake up at 5:30 a.m., work all day, then come home to 20 missed calls because Ethan needed gas money, or Rick forgot payroll taxes, or Mom wanted me to pick up groceries because you're already out anyway. I had panic attacks in grocery store parking lots. I used to sit in my Honda Civic after work, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers cramped. I remember one night specifically, November 14th, 2018. Cold rain hitting the windshield. I'd worked a double shift. I had $83 left in my checking account, and my mother called asking if I could send Ethan another $600 because he fell behind. Something inside me cracked. Not loudly, quietly, like ice splitting under pressure. That night, I updated my resume for the first time in 3 years. I applied to jobs in Nashville, then Atlanta, then Chicago, anywhere more than driving distance away. 3 months later, I got an interview with a healthcare consulting company in Denver. Operations coordinator. Salary, $68,000. Benefits, 401k, relocation assistance. I stared at the email so long my screen dimmed. It didn't even feel real. Nobody in my family had ever left Kentucky. Leaving was considered betrayal, especially me, because if I left, who would save everybody? I didn't tell them about the interview. I knew better. I booked the flight secretly. Interview scheduled February 18th, Monday morning. My flight left Sunday night. I packed 1 suitcase, 2 blouses, 1 black blazer from TJ Maxx, cheap heels that pinched my toes, and hope. God, I had hope. I should have known they'd find out. Toxic families always do. Sunday afternoon, I came home from work, and the entire family was sitting in the living room waiting for me, like an intervention. Rick leaned back in his recliner. My mother sat stiffly on the couch. Ethan sprawled across the lounge chair, scrolling his phone. Nobody spoke at first. Then my mother held up a printed copy of my flight confirmation. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I'd throw up. "You're leaving?" she asked softly. Not hurt, dangerous. I looked at Ethan. He smirked. He'd gone through my room again. "I have an interview," I said carefully. Rick laughed. Actually laughed. "Interview for what? Pretending you're too good for your family?" My face burned. "It's a job opportunity." "In Denver?" Ethan snorted. "Claire, be real. You can barely handle life here." My mother stood slowly, and I swear to God, her voice was calm enough to terrify me. "What about Ethan?" I blinked. "What?" "He needs help right now. You know he's struggling." Ethan literally spent the previous night drunk at a casino. I stared at them, at all of them, and suddenly something became horrifyingly clear. They never planned for me to have a future. Not once. I was infrastructure, utility, labor, an emotional support animal with a debit card. "You can't go," my mother said. Not "please don't." Can't, like permission belonged to them. Then Rick dropped the bomb. "If you leave this family," he said, "don't expect to come back." I looked at that room, the family photos, the yellow lamp in the corner, the dent in the carpet from Rick's recliner, my entire life, and I realized something terrifying. I didn't feel loved there. I felt owned. Ethan finally looked up from his phone. "You're being dramatic anyway. Denver's not going to hire you." That sentence changed my life, because for the first time ever, I got angry. Not crying angry, cold angry, the kind that burns clean. I walked to my bedroom. My mother followed me. "Claire," I kept packing. "You're abandoning us." I zipped my suitcase. "No," I said quietly. "I'm saving myself." Then she said the sentence I'll never forget. "Nobody leaves this family unless they're carried out." Silence. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. Then I grabbed my suitcase, walked past her, opened the front door, and left. My mother screamed my name from the porch. I kept walking, didn't look back once. I cried in the Uber to the airport, though. Ugly cried, mascara everywhere. The driver pretended not to notice. At the airport, I checked my bank account. Negative $214. Ethan had used the shared family card attached to my account for a cash withdrawal 3 hours earlier. My last money. Gone. I stood in the airport bathroom shaking. I almost went home. That's the truth nobody tells you about escaping toxic families. Freedom feels terrifying at first because they train you to believe survival without them is impossible. I sold my iPad at an airport kiosk for enough cash to eat and pay baggage fees. Then I got on the plane. I remember staring out the window during takeoff, whispering one sentence over and over. Please let this work. Denver was freezing. I arrived with one suitcase, sore feet, and exactly $41. The interview was the next morning. I barely slept. I practiced answers in the hotel mirror until 2 a.m. At 7:15 the next morning, my phone exploded with texts. "Mom, Rick, Ethan." Over 30 messages. "Where are you? Come home. You're selfish. Mom's crying. Family comes first. You think you're better than us now?" Then Ethan sent this. "Don't bother coming back. Your room's already gone." I turned my phone off, walked into that interview, and absolutely crushed it. Not because I was confident, because survival had accidentally trained me for operations work. Chaos management, scheduling, crisis handling, emotional regulation under pressure. Honey, I'd been practicing for years. The interview lasted 2 hours. At the end, the hiring manager smiled and said, "You're one of the strongest candidates we've met." I floated out of that building. For the first time in my life, I saw a future. Then everything collapsed again. The offer never came, days passed, then weeks. Finally, I got the rejection email. "We've decided to pursue other candidates." I felt numb. I thought maybe Ethan was right. Maybe I really wasn't enough. So I stayed in Denver anyway, because I couldn't go back after what happened. I worked temp jobs, reception desk, coffee shop, data entry. I rented a room from a divorced woman named Linda who chain smoked on the balcony and watched murder documentaries at full volume. I slept on an air mattress for 6 months. But slowly, my life became mine. No screaming, no guilt, no one demanding money, no one pounding on my door because Ethan needed rescuing again. Just peace, quiet little pieces of peace. And once you taste peace after chaos, you'll never willingly go back. By 2021, I landed a real corporate role, healthcare administration, $54,000. Not glamorous, but stable. I built credit, bought decent furniture, started therapy. That part matters because therapy taught me something life-changing. Love without respect is control. Woof, that one hurt. I cut contact with my family in late 2021 when Ethan called asking for $8,000. Apparently, he owed money to people who were getting aggressive. When I refused, my mother left me a voicemail sobbing about how I'd changed. Yeah, I had. That was the point. The next 4 years were the healthiest of my life. I made friends, started hiking, learned how to cook actual meals instead of surviving on stress and caffeine. I even adopted a rescue dog named Pepper, little crooked ear obsessed with tennis balls. For the first time ever, home felt safe. Then came March 2025, the email that detonated everything. Subject line, reference check request. I almost deleted it automatically. Then I saw the name, Ethan Bennett, my brother, applying for regional operations manager at my company. My company. I just stared at the screen. Apparently, Ethan had moved to Colorado. Apparently, he didn't know I worked there. Apparently, God has a twisted sense of humor. I opened his application, and my blood ran cold. Work history. Bennett Roofing Solutions, Operations Director, 2018 to 2022. Bullet points underneath. Managed payroll systems, coordinated vendor operations, oversaw client scheduling, reduced service delays by 27%, implemented digital accounting workflows. Every single one of those was my work. Mine. I built those systems. I handled those vendors. I created those workflows while Ethan got drunk and disappeared for days. He stole my entire professional history, word for word. My hands literally started shaking. Then I saw the reference listed below. Denise Bennett, mother, professional reference. Oh my God, they were still doing it, still rewriting reality like I never existed. I had 2 choices, reject him immediately or follow protocol. I chose protocol because the truth hits harder when people expose themselves. I scheduled the interview, Friday, 10 a.m., conference room B. The morning of the interview, I wore navy blue, sharp blazer, hair tied back, calm face. Inside, absolute hurricane. At 9:56, Ethan walked into the lobby. Older now, thicker around the middle, expensive watch trying too hard to look successful. And when he saw me, he froze, like he'd seen a ghost. Claire? I smiled professionally.
Good morning, Ethan. Follow me. Y'all, the silence walking to that conference room, insane. You could hear his breathing. Inside were two department directors and me. Ethan sat down, stiff as concrete. The interview started normally. Leadership questions, operations scenarios, conflict management. He answered decently at first, then I slid his resume across the table. Can you elaborate on your operational management experience at Bennett Roofing Solutions? His eyes flicked to me, then away. Yeah, I basically ran operations there. Interesting. Full-time? I asked. Pretty much. And payroll? Yes. Vendor management? Uh-huh. I nodded slowly, then asked the question. Who built the scheduling software migration system in 2020? Silence. Because he didn't know there was a migration system. I watched panic creep into his face. One director frowned slightly. Ethan shifted in his chair. I mean, the team worked on it. What team? Long pause. Then came the sweating.
God, watching a liar realize the walls are closing in? Wild. I kept my voice perfectly calm. You listed operational metrics here, including a 27% service improvement increase. Can you explain how that was measured? Nothing. Because I had measured it, not him. The room got very quiet. Then Ethan looked directly at me and said the dumbest thing possible. You know I did that work. Not some, not helped, not confusion, admission. One of the directors blinked. I folded my hands. No, Ethan, I said softly. I know I did. His face changed instantly, like he realized too late this wasn't family anymore. This was documentation, corporate documentation, and corporate doesn't care who mommy loves more. For the next 10 minutes, he unraveled completely, contradicted dates, couldn't explain systems, couldn't answer basic operations questions. Then finally he snapped. You always do this. One director looked confused. I stayed calm. What do? You act superior because you think you worked harder than everybody else. There it was. The truth. Not remorse. Entitlement. Even now. Even here. I ended the interview immediately. Professional tone, professional posture, professional smile. Thank you for your time, Ethan. HR will follow up. Security escorted him out after he started yelling in the hallway. I thought that was the end. It wasn't. 3 hours later, my mother called the company mainline. Then Rick emailed me. Then Ethan left me 6 voicemails. One of them said, "You ruined my life over a resume." No, he ruined his life over a lie. Big difference. A week later, I received a message from someone unexpected. My little cousin, Ava, age 16. Hey, Claire, I know the family says you're selfish, but honestly, I think you escaped. I just wanted you to know somebody sees it. I cried reading that. Because toxic families survive through silence. The moment one person says this isn't normal, the spell starts breaking. That summer, I bought my first home. Small townhouse, nothing fancy, but mine. I painted the kitchen sage green. Pepper ran through the empty rooms like she'd won the lottery. And one night, while unpacking boxes, I found the old airport receipt from the day I fled Kentucky. The iPad sale. $120. That was all the money between me and going back to Kentucky. I sat on the floor holding that receipt and realized something.
Nobody saved me. Not a boyfriend, not family, not luck. Me. I saved me. And honestly, that's the part toxic people can never forgive. Because once you prove you can survive without them, they lose control forever. So, if you're listening to this while sitting in a parking lot crying, or hiding in a bathroom, or wondering whether leaving makes you selfish, hear me carefully. Love should not cost your entire future. You are allowed to leave places that only value you for what you provide. You are allowed to choose peace, even if nobody claps for you at first, especially then. And sometimes, the bravest thing you'll ever do is walk out the front door while everybody screams you'll fail, then build a life so peaceful you never need to return. That's my story. And if you stayed until the end, thank you. Seriously, because somebody out there needed to hear this tonight. Maybe it was you.